A very good afternoon and thank you all for joining us on this edition of KTN Weekend at 1, today the 18th of October 2014. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Welcome to the program. Deputy President William Ruto intends to move to court on Tuesday next week to sue lawmakers Johnston Muthama, Boni Halwale, Elizabeth Ongoro, James Orengo and Janet Mohammed for allegedly linking him to the grabbing of a controversial piece of land in Karen. Nairobi Senator Mike Sonko yesterday filed a civil case at the Milimani Law Courts against Senators Johnston Muthama and Boni Halwale for linking him to the land scandal. Charity Ngilu has dismissed the allegations as false and challenged the court politicians to present any evidence that they may have to the relevant investigating authorities. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is investigating the scandal and has written to court politicians asking them to furnish the commission with all evidence by Wednesday next week. While commissioning a new geothermal plant yesterday in Olkaria, Naivasha, President Uhuru Kenyatta warned the opposition against inciting Kenyans by making unsubstantiated corruption accusations touching on senior government officials.
Unaenda kutaja majina ya watu huko, huyu amefanya hii, huyu amefanya, huyu amefanya. Hiyo maneno nataka kuambia watu leo, wale ambao wamezoea kutaja majina ya watu, na waomba wafanye homework yao vizuri. Wafanye homework yao vizuri. Kwa sababu hatutakubali tuweze kuendelea na mambo ya kuharibu majina ya watu ukifikiria ya kwamba utasimama unene ile yote ambayo utasema kuinsight wananchi. Ukinena simamia yale ambayo umenena. Kama ni ya ukweli hatua ichukuliwe, lakini kama ni ya uongo ya kwenda kuinsight wananchi, pia sheria itachukua hatua kuhakikisha ya kwamba hutarudia mambo haya.
And in more news, the National Assembly Speaker J.B. Muturi says he is hopeful that the impasse between the executive and the legislature will be resolved by the 28th of this month in order for cabinet secretaries to honor summonses to appear before Parliament. Speaking in Mombasa during a symposium for clerks and speakers of different county assemblies, Muturi insisted that it is constitutional for Parliament to form different committees to review the progress of cabinet secretaries. Muturi also urged members of Parliament and senators to avoid wrangles that would stagnate development in the counties.
I don't think it is right to say that State House is interfering. The President consults with the various arms of government, the legislature and the judiciary. We may not necessarily agree. I mean, it is not a sin. Even failing to agree is not a sin. There are consultations going on because it is not in the interest of any one arm of government to impede the progress or the functioning of any. All that these consultations are to find out how best those appearances will be handled. It is not a dispute as whether they will appear. No, that is it's settled by the Constitution. It is settled. It is no dispute about that. The executive is not saying they shouldn't, and there's nobody who is saying that they should not.
And traffic this morning in Nairobi County was paralyzed after a heavy overnight downpour in the city. Motorists spent hours in traffic as a result of poor drainage of the roads in the capital city. Now, on major roads leading to and from the city center had long queues of vehicles as motorists expressed their concerns over the poor drainage systems. Affected areas included Mombasa Road, Juja Road, Uhuru Highway and Gong Road, among others. The Nairobi County Executive in charge of transport, Mohammed Abdullahi, however, said that the county government is doing all it can to unclog the drainage system in Nairobi City. And a look at more news from across the country now. Every year, Kenyans are treated to sad tales of livestock keepers, especially pastoralists in northern Kenya, appealing for help after their animals are wiped out by drought. And since their animals are usually their stock and store of wealth, most of them end up being rendered absolutely poor. But as KTN's Current Dairy now reports, some residents in Laikipia North have decided to put in place a bit of insurance for themselves. Take a look.
Nomadism is an ingrained way of life for pastoralists, so much so that due to their nature of moving from place to place in search of pasture, doing things conventionally becomes a tall order for them, the reason why many drop out of school. But it is not just systems such as schooling that are affected by nomadism. Many do not set aside their earnings as savings, either due to high illiteracy levels and lack of knowledge on the benefits of saving. However, a group of residents in Laikipia North are rewriting this script by starting to save in savings and credit cooperative societies.
We teach the pastoralists and educate them on the importance of curbing or reducing the number of animals that are grazed.
The biggest hurdle for pastoralists is the recurrent droughts that wipe out their herds. Climate change occasioned by global warming has led to more frequent famines, and the dwindling water levels in River Wasonyiro only serve to add to their misery. With a savings system in place, they are able to restock their herds. Milka Apar says joining a Sacco was timely and her decision has paid off. Initially, they started with contributions of 50 shillings each.
Hata baada ya hiyo wakasema ile mandatory yenu mtutaingiza kwa chairs.
Loreto Sacco, that was started by 5 groups, among them women, has seen Apara educate her children.
Mzee akuwa anajishughulisha kwa sababu ni msichana, anaona tu ni kawaida, hata kama akikosa kwenda shule anasolewa.
Mary risked being the laughingstock among his pastoralist peers when he first joined an all-women group then that had started saving their money through the Sacco and empowering themselves economically.
Nimejenga hizo nyumba za kuomboesha. Pesa nilikuwa nikichukua kila mwezi naweka kitu sasa, labda wakati mwingine nanunua mabati, polepole milango, simiti, siku moja namkia najenga nyumba. So mimi naona imenisaidia zaidi.
Kwa sasa tunataka kama ni pesa waongezewe ili wale wanahitaji loan nao wapate pesa wakati inahitajika.
Since time immemorial, the concept of saving has been alien to pastoralist communities, but the tide seems to be changing, with a few of them starting to save in Saccos, perhaps a habit that should be picked up by the larger pastoralist community. Carol Derry, KTN, Laikipia North.
Now let's revisit that story about the traffic snarl-up in Nairobi this morning. That was paralyzed after a heavy overnight downpour in the city. Motorists spent hours in traffic as a result of poor drainage across the city center. On major roads leading to and from the city center, there were long queues of vehicles as motorists expressed their concerns over the poor drainage systems. Affected areas included Mombasa Road, Juja Road, Uhuru Highway and Ngong Road, among others. The Nairobi County, however, is now saying that the government is doing all it can to unclog the drainage system in Nairobi.
Mapolisi wawe makini sana kufungua hii chama, sababu zaidi kama kungekuwa na njia nyingine tunapita ya mkato katikati, tungekuwa hii chama ingekuwa kubwa zaidi hivi.
We'll immediately now ask the traffic police to come in and try and manage this traffic as we try to address other areas that have been affected by these rains.
And the Kenya Power and Lighting Company, KPLC, has just released a report saying that the rainstorms that hit several parts of Nairobi and its environs yesterday night left a trail of destruction on the power supply infrastructure, and customers are now left without electricity. The heavy downpour uprooted trees that caused considerable damage to electricity feeders serving different estates across the country. And of course, some sensitive installations have also been affected. Kenyatta National Hospital, for example, was flooded and power supply had to be disconnected to avoid cases of electrocution. The areas severely affected by the outages include Industrial Area, Gigiri, Mathare, Umoja, Karen, Rongai, Kiserian, Eastleigh, Kariobangi, Donholm, Spring Valley and Machakos. Kenya Power Repair and Maintenance teams have been mobilized to restore power supply to the affected areas. And now let's take a look at more stories from across the country. And now let's head to Mombasa, where we will now get an update on what exactly is happening in Mombasa after we received the news earlier during the week that Professor Ali Mazrui had died in the United States at the age of 81.
Body ishaondoka is New York na now it is in Istanbul. Na itafika hapa, itaondoka Istanbul to Mombasa na itafika around 3:10 saa 9 na dakika 10 na alfajiri Jumapili, kisha italetwa hapa nyumbani mpaka saa 3:30 tutaichukua hapa kupeleka msikitini, na kutoka pale msikitini tutarejea, tutakaa about 1 hour or so, kisha itakuja kwa miguu mpaka hapa ili kuzikwa.
Kiislamu, it is encouraged kuzika as soon as possible, but it is not forbidden. Ukitokea situation kama hizi ambazo number one, ye professor mwenyewe alihusia, whenever he visited Mombasa, anapita pale cemetery ambapo mababu zake na mababu zake walizikwa, na akisema very clearly kwa yeye mwenyewe anataka kuzikwa hapo.
And now let's take a look at some important news as well in the coastal region. And Kwale Governor Salim Vuria has urged foreign governments in Kenyan tourist source markets which had imposed travel bans to lift the advisories because Diani Beach, which had been voted the best in Africa, is a safe tourist destination. The governor, who was speaking while officially launching the Miss Tourism pageant in Kwale chapter at the Ukunda showground over the weekend, made a plea to the foreign governments to support the efforts to revamp the tourism sector. He appealed to both the international and domestic tourist sectors to flock to Kwale County because the destination offers some of the most unique tourist attractions. He says the stakeholders have the capacity to offer tourism products and services which meet international standards. Kwale County Commissioner Evans Achoki assured foreign and domestic tourists that the government has put in place adequate measures to protect both local people and visitors to the county.
Kwamba Kwale iko salama na watu wa Kwale ni wapenda amani. Kwa hivyo wachukue nafasi hii pia waweze kuondoa zile tahadhari za usafiri, ili wageni kutoka Uingereza, kutoka nchi zote za ng'ambo waweze kutembea hapa Kwale County na hoteli zetu ziweze kupata wageni, utalii uweze kurudi mahali ulipo.
Welcome back. You're watching KTN Weekend at 1. Now, construction site and cranes dot the horizon of Rwanda's capital, Kigali, a sign of the city's ambitious vision of the future, despite concerns that the building boom may be more of a bubble. Here is more on this story.
These cranes bearing down on the Rwandan capital Kigali are carrying out an ambitious plan to transform the city of 1,000 hills into Africa's Singapore. It's all part of the government's vision to turn Rwanda into a middle-income country by 2020 and a magnet for investors.
Notre vision 2020, c'est d'avoir Our 2020 vision is to have economic development that is guided and led by the private sector. We see that the demand is there and is really strong. It's only investors who are taking advantage of these opportunities.
Ce n'est qu'aux investisseurs de profiter de ces opportunités.
In the capital's financial centre, small businesses have been told to either move into the high-rise buildings or move out. But some retailers are worried the move will prove disastrous for profits.
It will cost us dearly. We'll lose our customers. I've been here for 7 years. My customers know me and I'm going to tell them where I'm going.
A number of publicly funded projects have already sprung up around the city, whereas others are lagging much further behind, like this conference centre. Elsewhere, land remains bare. It isn't only Rwanda's physical infrastructure that is being redesigned.
It's still challenging because if you look at what's planned, all the tall buildings, it's also forcing a change in the mentality of the population. Will we be able to live up to it? Will there be a population that will grow to fill all these buildings? Everything will depend on the evolution of the economy.
In 2013, GDP growth slowed to 4.6% after averaging more than 8% for a decade. And some investors remain cautious about the building boom. But the government insists that everything is going according to plan. After all, Rome, or Singapore, wasn't built in a day.
For more news, do log on to our website, standardmedia.co.ke, or you can actually visit the KTNKenya.tv website as well. My name is Joy Dorimbira. Thank you for watching this edition of KTN Weekend at 1. Coming up next is Africa Speaks, and today we've got quite a lot lined up for you. We'll be paying tribute to the late Professor Ali Mazrui, and also we'll be speaking on the role of civil society organizations on the African continent. Are they relevant? Do they even make sense anymore? Do stay with us. I'll be back shortly.